feel like finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living and art of it and everything.
I hope that you cut that piece right there and make it your intro and your outro, because that was dope.
Welcome to the Art and Hustle Podcast, a gallery of conversations, a space where you can hear all the amazing stories and life lessons of my guests. I'm your host, LindaLCheung, fashion designer turned multimedia artist, and I want to give you a space to tell your story. Hello.
Okay. Can you see me?
I can see you. I can see your fabulous self and shirt.
Yes, I didn't tell you. I've been collecting these since I first started wearing them when the company, actually, it used to be called Jam Surfline Hawaii. Now it's called, what is it called? Anyway, whatever it's called, I forgot the name.
They're still open?
Oh yeah, it's they're at I think they're at their 56th to 57th year in business, and I wore their shirts. I modeled their shirts. Okay,
really?
Yeah. I did a little part-time modeling in my youth.
Yeah.
And I was working for a surfboard company.
Yeah.
And he had gotten the shirts as part of his new inventory, and so I started wearing them when I was 17.
Ooh.
And I still have my first shirt. I have 169 shirts.
I want to see all of them.
But what's so funny?
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in the Pacific, and French Polynesia, Hawaii, whatever. And in Hawaii, for example, guys collect them, and some of the old original designs from mostly, I think just after World War II, maybe even before. But anyway, they're worth thousands of dollars. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're collectibles, and they have 2,000, 3,000 shirts. I'm a piker. I only have 169.
Well, we have to get all of them.
Yeah, nice try, Linda. In fact, I have to wear one a day. Now, starting April 1st, if the weather's good, I'll start wearing one every day until, let's say, November.
Yeah.
The trouble is that I still can't get through all of them in a season. I have to, like, 2 seasons, I can wear each shirt once, basically.
Oh, 2
Because
seasons?
there's so many. Yeah, because I know, so you got to figure, I can't, I just can't, some days I don't wear them because it's too cold,
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you can always wear them on these podcasts. We got to get through all 100.
Now listen, I don't know if I've worn a different one on every podcast.
I know. Well, welcome to the Art and Hustle Podcast, Gallery of Conversations. I'm excited to have Mr. Schiavo again here today. And I want all the viewers to know, if they're enjoying this podcast and my talks with all my favorite people that have come on, I would love everyone to subscribe, click the button, and click the bell that says notification. And also, I would love for you to make a comment below on who I should chat with next, a favorite mentor, a favorite artist, anybody that's changed your life in any sort of way. Put down who your favorite person is. So welcome, Mr. Schiavo.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm excited for you to be here again, and I have these huge questions for you today.
Uh-oh.
I'm sure you'll have some answers for me. So I love watching Oprah, and she's always have these amazing questions that she asks all of her guests. And one of the main questions that she asks is, what do you think the purpose of life is?
Oh, this is going to be an ugly answer. Now, this will be an ugly answer because let me start off with the following. I was at lunch with some friends, and his wife mentioned the Baltimore Catechism, okay? And the Baltimore Catechisms, when you used to go to a parochial school, like a Catholic elementary school, they would make you go through and almost basically memorize the Baltimore Catechism. And the very first question was, what is the purpose of life? And the answer was what the answer was to know, love, and serve God. That was the
Oh,
answer.
oh,
Now,
okay.
even as a kid, for some reason, I was thinking, yeah, I don't think that works for me.
Yeah,
In other words,
yeah.
I wasn't really mature enough, I think, to articulate it. Okay,
Hmm. Hmm.
or but I'm thinking, I
You
think,
just knew that something wasn't right
well,
about
yeah,
that.
because I didn't really see God. I never knew what God was supposed to be all about, and I just,
Yeah, yeah,
I remember my mother telling me that we all had guardian angels.
yeah,
And I remember I always thought of them as being female. So every time I went to take a pee, I was like nervous and looking over my shoulder and
yeah.
don't my female guardian angel is going to be watching me. So that was probably one of maybe my first trauma, about spiritual beings.
Yeah, yeah.
But depending on, I had mentioned, I think in one of the conversations with you, I was always a big Joseph Campbell fan, and of course, and he was also had a Catholic background and education as I did, and he came to appreciate the fact that okay, he did a lot of comparative religions and things like that. And how do I say this? I'm giving you the long preamble to my answer. Um, yes, I may be an avowed atheist, okay,
Yeah.
but religion has its uses, and where I'm pro religion is that certain rituals are really good for people. And even as a classroom teacher, I had my own classroom rituals. In other words, I would say the same thing in the same way all the time. So
Yeah,
that's like, for example, taking a test.
yeah.
It's okay. You don't, and I'll give you a perfect example. Don't turn your papers over until I tell you to do so.
Hmm.
Any talking I'll construe as cheating. I don't know if you remember
Hmm.
all those words.
Yeah.
And then of course, but once I did that,
Hmm.
don't turn your papers over till I tell you. That was the clue that okay, this is serious now. This is the
Hmm.
test time, and no more jokes, no more this, no more that, no more chatting. We got to focus on the exam.
Yeah,
So I'm a believer of ritual. They don't have to necessarily be religious.
yeah.
But I also think that religion has done a lot of damage because it's divisive as well as cohesive, you know?
Now,
You
what
get,
age was it where when you learned about those words of, serve God, and you're like, no, I don't believe it.
yeah, well, I'm trying to think. I was
Question it.
only there, I'll tell you exactly. I was in parochial school, fortunately, for only about a year and a half. Third grade,
Oh,
all of third grade,
yeah.
and then half of fourth grade. Then we moved out to, uh, Half Hollow Hills School District and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So it had to be probably third grade. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so that particular answer is the one that the nuns in Catholic Church wants to teach. All
Yeah.
right. And the older I got, the more I realized, well, that wasn't going to really work out. So the existentialist in me says, you know what? The purpose of life is what I decide it has to be for me,
Yeah.
given my my gifts, my physicality, my whatever my intellect is. I make this, and then of course, as long as I am true to the goals I set for myself, the purposes, then what the existentialists would say, well, okay, now you're living an authentic life. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but what Joseph Campbell would say, and I've come to believe, I believe him before I read him, that really there is no meaning to life other than perpetuating itself. So, in other words, you life perpetuates itself by making sure that every species reproduces in its own special, interesting way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I'm sorry. Is there heaven and hell? No. Do we have a soul? No. Okay. What people call soul is what I would call personality. And when that person dies, the personality slash consciousness slash soul goes with that person.
Mm,
It's sad.
so you don't believe in spirits and oh, my phone is trying to talk to me.
Okay.
Oh no, my iWatch was trying to talk to me. It's like, oh, I don't understand what you're trying to tell me because I'm not talking to you, Siri. So you don't
Right.
believe in spirits or ghosts or life after death
No, no,
or
no, no,
anything,
no,
no?
no, 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 no. I mean, I look, and I think that this is what's very. I mean, I had a friend of mine who was a very well-known physicist at Stony Brook, who unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago. And we had this, he used to come to my book discussions on occasion. So I
Yeah.
was giving monthly book discussions at the public library where
Yeah.
I'm the trustee. I
Hmm.
did that for 17 years, monthly book
Wow.
discussions. I
Yeah.
mean, and some of the stuff, I mean, the reading list was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And a lot of the ones I did for my own purposes because I hadn't read them myself. I knew
Mhm.
about them, but I didn't read them. So I started off with all the books I did in my Royal Lit classes and AP classes. Then
Yeah.
I moved on to other books written by the same writers, and then I went to stuff that I said, you know what, just like my group wanted to read certain things and had not read them, I said, let's do that. So my point, going back to the original question, was no, I don't believe in ghosts,
Hmm.
spirits,
Hmm.
angels, so forth. And so that's to me is just, and then I do think, and we have to remind ourselves, we are animals. Human beings are animals, and we want to, I have to say, we're one of the worst, grossest, most violent, vicious species on the planet. We've been destroying this planet with alacrity
Yeah.
for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Now, are there good people? Yes, there are.
Hmm.
Uh, but you look at other species, and they just want to be left alone. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
I
then
mean,
we keep dragging them in, right?
yeah, really. They're going, wait a second, what are
They're
you
like,
doing to
we
our
just want a
planet?
peaceful life, and you keep messing
Yeah.
our
I
planet
mean,
up.
like, I spend a lot of time around horses, okay? And
Yeah.
horses, they just want to, they want to they want to graze on their grass,
Yeah.
get some water. They spend most of the time, feeding and
Hmm.
trying to create other horses,
They just want to be free to run and gallivant.
Yeah, but you know what? Then that's another conversation about freedom. People believe some wacky things about freedom, but go ahead.
Yeah.
So if I think I've answered your question. So
Yeah.
no,
No.
my purpose is what's my purpose? My purpose is the purpose of life. The meaning of life is just perpetuating itself.
Patrick.
Okay,
Okay.
life
So do you
perpetuating.
okay, so do you think you have fulfilled your purpose in life?
Yes and no. In other words, the what I would call proximate purposes, things that I said, well, this is what I want to do, or this is
Yeah.
what I want to be,
Yeah.
I have done that. So, for example, uh, but teaching was something I backed into. It
Hmm.
became my purpose. I came to
Yeah.
love it. I
Yeah.
came to enjoy it, and I said, okay. And I think I fulfilled my purpose trying to be the best
Best
teacher I
teacher.
could be.
Hmm.
Given, look, like we all have our limitations, we all have our insecurities, and given whatever those were with me, I said, okay, I'm going to try to be the best teacher I could be. Didn't mean I
Yeah.
was always great. Didn't mean I was the best teacher that ever lived. There is no such thing. There is no best teacher in the world. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
But there are a lot of really great teachers, and I'm sure you've met a lot of them, had them. Some of them I know. So
Hmm.
what I'm saying is, yeah. So I fulfilled that purpose. I fulfilled the purposes I had in terms of my recreational interests: surfing, horses,
Yes,
fishing,
surfing, horses,
boating.
yeah, traveling.
Yeah,
Yep.
because they give what they do is they give life for the individual. They give life some meaning, but they more than that. In general, they give a person's life texture. They give it something that you can say, yeah, I just didn't breathe and I just didn't eat, and
Yeah.
I did stuff that was
Yeah.
kind of interesting and other people kind of
Yeah.
enjoy. You know what I mean?
Like I feel like those things made you happy, and you made sure to fulfill those things either daily, going surfing, riding
Sure,
your horse,
right,
right?
right. Teaching. I mean, I have to tell you, I used to, I don't know about other teachers, but I loved it. And so I used to truly get excited before the opening of school in September. I used to just,
Really? That's
yeah, I
great.
did. I just look
Yeah.
forward to it. Now, again, especially and again, I had lots of great stuff to do. Again, the horses and the surfing. I had
Yeah.
my horse. But you know what? When I wasn't teaching, I was missing it. I missed that part of
Mm.
my life. And I think
Mhm.
that um, the best teachers you've ever had,
Yeah.
all really want to teach. They want to be in that environment, and they
Yeah.
want to
And
be
they
part of
want
it.
to see their students excel and succeed, and see them again to see how they're doing.
Yeah, it's a great joy. That's why I enjoyed your interview with Gary O'Valley, and that's why every time I hear about, in fact, I just got thanks to these podcasts, I got some comments from people on Facebook, and all of a sudden that I haven't heard from in 40 years.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they're telling me, "Oh yeah, I'm a lawyer now, or I'm a doctor now, or
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, gee, or I'm a teacher now, or a business."
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, oh, God, I knew they were going to probably be successful, but
Yeah.
now to know that specifically how
Hmm.
their lives became a success in terms of
Yeah.
chosen professions, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing for a teacher. I
Yeah.
mean, I will say this, they did surveys over the years about teachers and parents
Hmm.
who were the best predictors of the futures of those young people, and
Or
teachers
the
won out
parents
over
and
parents.
teachers.
Yeah, no
Mhm.
question, no question.
So you,
You know,
and it said that teachers would surpass the parents.
well, they would their perception of the success
Hmm.
and futures of the kids, the students,
Yeah.
would be the teachers had a better grasp. I used to kid students, especially kids who were in trouble.
Yeah.
I would say to them, when you guys walk into the classroom, your teacher sees an adjective or a noun on your forehead, and sometimes it says intelligent,
Yeah.
sometimes it says scholar, sometimes it
Yeah.
says murderer, sometimes it says,
Yeah.
failure, all right? But it's right there on your forehead, and then and you
Mm.
can see it. And then the issue is, well, how close do you come to that word on your forehead as
Yeah.
as you develop and
Oh, that's
develop.
interesting. So if you see a student, you see that word on their forehead, are you right 90% of the time, or do you
Well,
think it changes?
Linda, I used to use that as a crutch. I said, by the way, a
Yeah.
really good teacher, if it says murderer or it says
Yeah.
failure, a really
Yeah.
good teacher could help you erase that and put in a better
Mm.
a better
Yeah.
adjective. You see, and
Yeah.
that's the key. If you follow the guidance I'm providing to you, you can change that word on your forehead. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it is true because the young people, I mean, it's shocking how sometimes what a decent teacher, and you know it to be true in your own life,
Mhm.
what a good teacher can do to change your trajectory, change your
Yeah.
path going forward.
Completely,
Yeah,
completely. Because
yeah,
I mean, I feel like I'm a prime example of that because my home life was definitely not good. So school was my
yeah,
savior and my haven to be able to do my arts. And I had Mr. Krugman and Miss
yeah,
Winograd, Miss Baglio, and all
yeah.
these other great teachers who supported my arts and supported my schooling. So to be able to have that
Yeah.
was a huge, huge thing for my life.
And you know what's interesting about the names you mentioned? I know them all used to know them all as colleagues.
Yeah.
One of the things I have to say, and I used to say it to training future teachers, they were all, to a name, good, solid, well-meaning people. As people, they were good people.
People.
Okay,
Yeah. Hmm.
and that goodness kind of it showed through all the time. In other words, you could see it. Kids responded to that. They
Yeah.
weren't mean-spirited. They weren't always angry. They obviously cared about, how you were doing and how you were progressing, let's say, in your art and your crafts,
Yeah.
but also as a person. And if you had a bad day, they would comment on, hey, you don't look happy today. What's going on? Say, that's a mark of the best teachers have that humanity at base.
Yeah.
That's part of their toolkit, basically, and
Yeah.
and something that they don't even actively, I think, sometimes think about. It's just who they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, I think one of the things you said mentioned that your job as a teacher first is to make sure that the needs of the children are met first as soon as they enter the classroom, which is have they eaten? Are they, is their
Yeah.
family life safe? Like those are huge things. I feel like is amazing that you thought of that before okay, now it's okay for me to teach because everyone's okay now.
Yeah, I used to say it in shorthand at my student teaching classes was that whether you liked it or not, because a lot of people don't like to hear this,
Yeah.
especially from the political point of view, um, you have to do the social work before you can do the academic work.
Yeah.
It's just that's the way it is. You
Yeah.
can't educate crying kids and
Yeah.
hungry kids and hurting kids. The kids come in, they've had a real bad time at home, and they're not focused. And so
Yep.
somehow if you can get them to crack a smile, that changes maybe the course of that particular class for them.
Yeah, because your rooms always had an energy to it. I knew like if I was going towards your class that you'd be standing outside giving us a smile and welcoming us into the classroom. So
I used to tease the hell out of kids too.
yeah.
What like especially the guys. The guys would come in, so they'd have let's say some occasionally they'd have a tie on, or sometimes they'd have a haircut. Come in with a new haircut, and I'd say,
Yeah.
so Jimmy, yeah, you, who gave you the haircut? No, no, no. I would say, oh, Jimmy, out of the blue, I said, you want to borrow my shotgun? A shotgun? What for? So you
Right.
can shoot the barber who gave you that haircut. You know,
And
stuff
then
like
they would
that.
laugh. Yeah.
They would laugh, sure. And I mean, I
Hmm.
think that's the point. And of course, one of the things why you do that, and again, training student teachers was the fact that my motto was, if you schmooze, you cruise. If you snooze, you lose. So
Yeah.
if you're not at the front door, or you're at the front door and you got a puss on,
Yeah.
that doesn't help. But when you are at the front door of your class and you have a smile on your face and you're ready to talk to kids, you're schmoozing those kids, and as a consequence, you cruise and they cruise in the classroom experience. It's like, okay, it started off with a positive, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
as opposed to saying, yelling, "Oh, get into class," or whatever, you're late, or so.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of giving them like a negative thing when you first see them. Yeah.
So, any other questions now that we discussed the purpose of
Yes.
life and teaching and stuff
Yes.
like that?
Exactly. What are you most grateful for?
Oh boy, uh, so many things. And let's just say this: this is another bugaboo for me. I When people are negative, it drives me crazy because I say,
Hmm.
wait a second, especially with people I know.
Yeah.
I live in a neighborhood where nobody's poor, okay? They're mostly healthy, right?
Yeah.
And they're always complaining. They're
They got
always
a nice
bitching about,
red convertible car.
yeah, I got oh my convert, please, spiffy, right? And I'm thinking, wait a second. First of all, I'm grateful that I'm still alive at 76, and so many of my friends have dropped dead already. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that's number one. So I'm grateful for still being alive and remarkably healthy for my age.
Yes.
I mean,
Hmm.
I know people who have a list of medications they take every day.
And you
I
take
mean,
nothing?
I take two. I think I'm
Two.
taking,
Okay.
and they're preventive. I take an aspirin.
Yeah. For heart.
Yeah, I take an aspirin, and I take some Lipitor for cholesterol,
Hmm.
and something mild for blood pressure. The only one I really have to take
Yeah.
is the blood pressure pill, and that's for, again, it's very mild, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm okay, so that's good. So I'm grateful for my health. I'm
Yeah.
grateful, and I used to tell students, and maybe it's probably told you, okay, I was grateful for the fact that I was born smart, good looking, and cheerful. I was so cheerful the doctor had to smack my butt twice to get me to cry. Okay, so I have always been grateful. You laugh, but see, as
Yeah.
kids would laugh. I said,
Yeah.
and of course, as I've aged, I'm like gotten like
Fine wine,
fine
right?
wine and cheese.
Getting better every year.
Yeah, but if I were a smart ass kid in my class, I would have said, "Oh yeah, yeah, fine, yeah, wines go sour and cheese gets stinky." But I mean, I didn't. But they were too busy laughing when I said that to be
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah.
So no, I'm grateful for a lot of things. I think that I've had a wonderful, wonderful life. I had one difficult year growing up, and that was
With your mother?
yeah, I had one bad year, and that was because, sadly for her, she was a very bright woman, very
Yeah.
talented,
Hmm.
you know, um, multilingual, the whole nine yards. But she was starting to unravel emotionally, and I can't,
Hmm.
and you can't hold it against certain. When people have a certain kind of mental thing going on,
Yeah.
you almost can't. You can't.
You can't
Uh,
blame them
yeah,
for
you really can't.
mental. Was she old? Was she getting older? And then she was
Well, it was probably. I'm trying to think. She started to. How old was I at the time? I guess she must have been 50-ish.
50 years, and you were probably like 18 and
Yeah, yeah, about
okay.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But it's like no, and my wife, of course, she was a uh, what was it? She was a nurse administrator of a psychiatric building
Wow.
at Pilgrim State for
Yeah.
20 years.
Yeah.
And we would often discuss the fact that she was working with mentally ill populations, right?
That's a tough
And
job. That's a tough
oh,
job right there.
absolutely.
Mentally taxing, I feel.
For sure. I mean, she used to come back, and I mean, she worked with mostly geriatric patients, but I guess a couple of years, she was doing what they call an acute building, and the acute building had all these younger people who were
Oh,
basically they were
wow.
basically criminally insane. See,
Wow.
and I used to be petrified because every time she went to work, I was going, oh my God,
Yeah,
uh,
that's scary right there.
yeah, I mean, she had to have X amount of security around her because you never
Hmm.
knew when one of them was going to really act out and get crazy.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
point was, though, that
Yeah.
I would talk about how people don't understand mental illness. It's one thing if you you broke your leg and people can see you're on crutches, or you've got cancer, or you've got some other
Yeah.
disease that's noticeable, right?
Yeah.
But with mental illness, it's very hard for people to appreciate the fact that there's something
Good.
wrong there.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
really, I don't want to say it's really organic, but there's something, certain switches are not being put
Like
in the
switched
right
on.
way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
like that whole thing is super interesting to me in general because I wonder how someone can go through a very traumatic experience and some can make it through and some can't make it through, which is super fascinating to me.
yeah. Because I remember I had one of my favorite psychology professors. He would always tell the story of like five different kids, and the one thing they all had in common was that a shack fell on them when they were kids, right? And so one kid will say, well, shack fell on me when I was a kid, and because of that, I wanted to become a doctor because I was
I
hurt
want to help.
and was want to help. And then
Yeah.
another kid would say, well, a shack fell on me, and I became a murderer because I wanted to kill the architect or the
Mm.
construction guy or the
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so the same stimuli, the
Yeah.
same stimulus.
How does that? I wonder. I mean, I really wonder how that turnabout comes about if like you can have all these five different people who's gone through the same thing but
Right.
some make it out and some don't, so
Yeah,
what do you think it is the deciding factor there?
I this is a tough one. I think I don't want to say that it's about intelligence necessarily. It's about, I think, a certain kind of sensitivity. I mean, so for example, when I think about, look, I've had so many students that went through serious trauma,
Yeah.
okay, and they
Yeah.
knew about the trauma,
Yeah.
and they kind of said, okay, I've had this horrible thing happen to me,
Yeah.
but you know what? I'm going to move forward. I'm going to suck it up. I'm not going to whine, and I'm going to deal with the rest of my life the best way I can. And that
Yeah.
attitude always seemed to work out really, really well.
Yeah.
The ones who said, you know what? I've been really, really traumatized and think of themselves as victims. Okay.
Yeah.
When they think of themselves as victims, it seems to go awry. They do things,
mm.
all kinds of weird things because they
Mm-hmm.
feel they've been
Because then you're
victimized.
blaming that person
Yeah, they're
for
gonna
ruining
blame
your
other
life.
people,
Yeah.
or they're gonna hurt other people. I mean, it's just the
Yeah.
only thing I can come up with, and I'm just basing this on my own personal experience of seeing so many young people over the
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
you know, and especially when I knew their stories, I started to see, yeah, some of them had real uh, strength and spunk and a perception of the world that was more positive than the ones that were claiming victimization.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me it's fascinating
Yeah.
because like for instance like one book that I feel like changed my life also was that my brother gave me Anthony Robbins' book, I think The Giant Within.
Okay.
And at that point when I was younger, I think before high school, before I met you, I I think I read that book and I was like, I was super negative, I feel like at that point, or right before high school. I was super
Right.
negative, super upset with my life. Like, how can
Right.
this happen?
Right.
And when I read that book, it was, very psychological, where it's like, no, you have to make those changes. You have to change your brain and how you outlook and how the outlook of everything. Think about all these other things that you can, focus on how you can change your life. And that
I
kind of switched my brain of like, okay, I need to retrain my brain and think about the positive things. What can I do? What can I do instead of the environment that I'm in? What can I do to see those other aspects and those positive things?
And something else too. Again, my wife worked in, like, it was basically a psych nurse and stuff,
Yeah.
and she would talk to the psychiatrists and things. And I'm not a big fan, for example, of therapy. All right. I mean, I think Freud was the first one to call it the talking cure, or somebody after, but basically, it, therapy was the talking cure. You had somebody came in with problems,
Yeah.
and what did that patient do? Uh, Talk to the psychiatrist, talk to
Yeah.
the psychologist,
Mhm.
and depending on the type of psychologist or psychiatrist that they were, for example, the Freudians were known for just taking notes and never saying anything.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
talk them
Yeah.
down.
I
You
found
take, you
that
know,
really interesting. I mean, not interesting, annoying, because I would see a few therapists and they would just like, what do you think about it? I'm like,
well, this,
um,
but here's what one psychiatrist told her, and I felt that this was true for a long time. In fact, I had one of my favorite people coming to a book discussion was a psychiatrist had been. In fact, he was when I first met him, he was in his mid 80s, I think, or early 80s, and he passed away around 92, I think. But he was one of my favorites. But the whole idea would be that the notion is that if people got to him, okay, for therapy, it was already too late in the sense
oh,
that
really?
they because most psychiatrists and psychologists, if they're honest,
Yeah.
will say most human beings have to work it out for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so a lot like you used to talk about, well, they'll say the therapist said, well, what do you think? Well,
Yeah.
the point is you should have been thinking about all the problems in the first place and try to
Yeah.
find your way out and try
Yeah.
to find your way out. And I think for me personally, whenever I had issues that were I felt becoming consuming,
Yeah.
okay, I
Hmm.
would try to figure my way out of that situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a personal thing. Okay. And I think it takes time, it takes energy, I think it takes some intelligence, it takes some sensitivity, and you'd be surprised on how many people, I mean, the whole notion of people having now, what do they call them? Life guides or life counselors.
Life
Oh yeah,
coaches
life
or
coach,
something
something like
like
that.
that. Hmm.
I mean, I'm sorry. I find that pretty much ridiculous, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I have to be careful because I think sometimes students will think of their teachers as life coaches, but I don't think of myself I never thought of myself as a coach, more like I'm a guide kind of, like I'm going to give you some tools and I'm going to give you some advice and you can
Yeah.
take it or leave it, you see?
Hmm.
You can take it
Hmm.
or leave it. I don't know that life coaches, I'm not sure exactly what they do and how they do it, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they probably do the same things as like what some of the fundamental things that you did, possibly just because maybe some people didn't have those good guidance, maybe when they were growing up, or teachers or
The
parents.
other thing too is I think they always say that sometimes you're just better off. People are better off not with a therapist, but with a really good friend that they can
Yeah. I mean, that's
confide in.
totally
Okay,
true. Yeah.
and sometimes your best friend might be your dog or your horse.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
one of those things where, first of all, they wouldn't give away your secrets. Number one, okay.
They'll talk back to you.
Yeah. Now, when I used to get on my horse after a bad day,
Yeah.
at work, let's
Hmm.
say I had a rough day at work.
Yeah.
There was a brawl or whatever, and I was kind of agitated or whatever.
Yeah.
I said, get on my horse's back, and he
Yeah.
would know instantly
For
that
your energy,
yeah, because the horses can
they can sense
they
it.
can yeah they can sense it through the reins. They have a pretty good sense of smell,
Yeah.
and I see his ears flicking around back and forth because he could tell I wasn't relaxed. Okay.
Oh, so he could feel it and be like trying
Yeah.
to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then also he would walk a little faster, and I wasn't doing anything. Like so, for example, a lot of people who have horses they have trail horses or what they'll call pleasure horses, right?
Yeah.
That the whole idea is to get your horse to walk in a nice, slow, easy walk, like a
Yeah.
big old dog, okay?
Yeah. Hmm.
And he would do that when I was obviously in a good mood and everything was
Mm.
cool. But when
Yeah.
I was agitated, his walk was faster, his
Really.
ears would never stop moving. It was really
Yeah.
interesting.
Interesting. That's
Yeah,
super interesting because
like,
he could feel it, and like you're probably, your energy is rubbing off on him a little bit. He's like, what's happening? Do we have to go?
oh, it's true, absolutely.
Right?
Plus, of course, that's why also people would. I used to kid, you guys all the time about being in love, and I'd say, "Excuse me,
Mhm.
you want real love? You want real unconditional love? Get yourself a big fuzzy dog. Forget the girlfriend, forget
Yeah.
the boyfriend. That dog, you come home, it'll always lick your
That's
face.
unconditional love right there, right?
Absolutely. Anything I know about unconditional love, I know
Yeah.
from having a dog.
Yeah.
Dogs. I say that, and of course I say that because my wife's not in the room, just so you
Yeah.
know. If she were in the room, she'd be beating me to within an inch of my life.
Oh my God.
How about another question? Go ahead.
This will be the last questions. This is the last question for the day. What do you think the secret to your happy marriage is?
Well, Now you got to be real careful about a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-oh. The word
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. You see, this goes back to what my feelings were about what Tolstoy said about an Anna Karenina. Was it Anna Karenina? Yeah. He said, all happy families are the same, but all unhappy families are unhappy in their own way. And because I question the notion of it, there even being happy families in the first place.
Mm.
Because human beings, when they're rubbing elbows and they're together in a confined space like a house and stuff, it isn't all beer and skittles.
Yeah.
There are moods and there's hostilities and stuff. I think that we've been together. In fact, it'll be 45 years next month in April.
Oh,
Even if I so I think the main thing is, do we squabble? Oh, for sure.
yeah.
We squabble more that now that we're older. But it's like
Yeah.
kid. There used to be a show when I was a kid on radio called The Bickersons, and
That's
the
funny.
host, yeah, the Bickersons, and like they would bicker, okay,
Yeah.
and husband and wife would bicker, and it was nothing serious, but it
Hmm.
was just constant, like, agitation and irritation with each other.
Yeah.
Now, that's not I mean, we do that certainly, but I think what has kept us really together all these years is we both have a sense of humor and we both make each other laugh. We used to
Mm.
have knockdown, drag out verbal battles, and
Yeah.
then 2 minutes later we'd be laughing hysterically because it was so
Oh,
funny.
so
It
that's
was so
one. The secret to it is
Yeah,
laughter.
and I think the other issue is I turned off my phone. Oh, that's on my computer. But the other part though is I think once you understand that you married a person for the right reasons,
Hmm.
over the years, as long as you remember what those reasons were why you married that person in the first place, why you made that commitment in the first place, that's
Yeah.
going to keep you together. And I think that any marriage that's been long lasting,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I think they're happy in the sense that, yeah, I made the right decision about this person.
Mm.
Sometimes it gets like I used to say, real
Yeah.
love is a dirty, sweaty, gritty business. Real
Yeah.
love. Okay.
And what were some of those key things that you respected and liked about your marriage and her?
Well, I'll say that she never. I could always count on her never to embarrass me in public.
Hmm.
Okay, it was one thing.
Hmm.
I was so proud. She would, if I don't think you ever met my wife and I, but
I don't think.
she was always a very attractive woman. People called her class. I mean, forget about what I thought about her, but
Yeah.
people would call her, "Oh, she's so classy." She always is all glammed out when she goes out, and she's very polite and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, but we never would bicker and squabble in public.
Hmm.
And I just knew that she was eminently, you know, pleasant and attractive to people other than myself. Okay,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
I really was grateful for that with her.
Yeah.
And also she's she knows her business. What's interesting about our relationship is she's a medical person and
Mm-hmm.
she's much more about facts
Yeah.
and things in the concrete. Okay,
Yeah.
where I'm a literary person. I'm kind of more like
Philosophers.
you, like more like an artistic type. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's all like think about things that are abstract and philosophical and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And so sometimes she'll look at something and she'll have an eminently practical view
Hmm.
of of what the situation is and also how to resolve it. And I'm more, I don't know, loosey goosey about certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys had like really good conversations too about love.
Oh
Like a lot
yeah, in
of
fact, one of the
topics,
things
right?
I remember when we were going out together when I first met her, we could have conversations, and in fact, one of the nicest things she ever says about me, ever,
Yeah. Yeah.
still, after
Hmm.
almost 45 years, she goes, "When we go out to dinner together, I really enjoy going out just with you and me." And unlike a lot of old married couples who are staring across the table without saying a word,
Yeah.
we're jabbering away, we're chatting about whatever, we
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
have things to talk about after all these years. And that's
Mm-hmm.
and that's a good thing. That's a
Yeah.
good thing. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me today and answering some of my questions. And
I
what?
must tell, yeah, I must tell you, Linda, I really enjoy this format where you ask me questions because I don't know what you're going to ask me, number one. And like, unlike the last one, which was important to me because it was about book banning and censorship. So I came
Yeah.
in with a topic that was
Yeah.
a proximate concern for me. But
Mhm.
this is kind of fun because I don't know where you're going, and I can't. And if you were listening, I don't really. Uh, you know, I'm struggling to find answers, kind of.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Now
it's
I've got
kind
to
of.
make your brain go, and you got to figure it out on the spot.
Yeah, look, this is another thing too. When you get to be my age, you want to keep your brain fresh and sparkly, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. So I totally appreciate this, and we definitely will do this again. We'll have some more questions for you for next time.
Hey, it's all up to you. I could do this, man. I'm good. I got plenty of time, and I'm flattered, and I'm grateful that you even think to want to do this with me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, stay well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.
I went into like finally getting back to me, my art. All I want to do is art. And the other thing is that I love stories. So like to me, art is in everything. Your art is your voice, your speaking, your connection. You can feel everyone's energy. That's your art. It's the art of living to me. So art and hustle to me is the art of living and art of it and everything.
I hope that you cut that piece right there and make it your intro and your outro because that was dope.